Hi, Marc Kielburger here. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about movements and the concept of movements, but specifically how to build a movement. And we're often asked, how do you build a movement? How do you create something so powerful, so measurable, so positive for the world? And I'm often explaining it starts small and it builds and builds and builds. And let me give you a little bit of context. We've had a chance over the years to spend a lot of time with Nobel Peace Prize laureates, people like Archbishop Desmond Tutu, Nelson Mandela, people like former President Mikhail Gorbachev, many, many others. Perhaps one of the ones that, however, struck me most in terms of answering this question about movements is a woman named Wangari Maathai. She was the first African woman to win a Nobel Peace Prize. And she's not a name that you may be familiar with, akin to some of the larger Nobel laureates that are more well known. But Wangari Maathai, she came from Kenya, and she's no longer with us. But in 1976, 1977, she started something called the Green Belt movement. Now, the Green Belt movement was fascinating. It started in Kenya and it spanned to many African countries. But it was on the concept of the empowerment of normal, wonderful people from the local community, but especially women, and the empowerment of women, but specifically the empowerment of women around helping the environment through planting trees. And this movement about planting trees started in Kenya, and it grew and grew and grew and grew, and it had a massive impact. And the reason I love this story, and specifically this Nobel laureate, Wangari Maathai, is because her movement started with one tree. I'm going to say that again. Her movement started with one tree. She planted one tree, and then she got a bunch of women from her community in the Kakuma forest, and they planted more trees, and more trees, and more trees. And then the UNDP, the United Nations Environmental Development Program, came up, and they helped to expand that concept and got more people involved, more countries involved, more women involved. And then all of a sudden in East Africa, and Central Africa, and West Africa, there was this movement around planting trees, but once more, it started with one tree. And that concept of the one tree, that one first name on a petition, the one first time you stand up for whatever issue or cause you care about, that's how a movement gets created. And in her case, she made a massive movement around the Green Belt, and this Green Belt concept, and she changed lives, and of course she won the Nobel Peace Prize, deservedly so. But she's somebody who we're just absolutely enamored with. And so when I think of building movements, think and research Wangari Maathai, an amazing Nobel Peace Laureate who started with one tree.